ready for math section 7.4. In 7.3 we were multiplying decimals. This chapter's been over decimals. The chapter before was fractions. We've added, we've subtracted those. We've changed decimals into fractions. All right, so today we're going to be doing, well, we're just going to do 7.4 for now. Now it's time to explore division again. I'm at the top of page 164 in your book. This time we're going to combine what we know about decimals and rounding to find yet another way to express remainders. All right, so remember before when we would divide, let's say we would divide, just say 25 divided by 6. All right, 6 goes into 25 4 times. That's 24. We have to subtract that. We have 1. So that would be 4 remainder 1. Now that's one way to express the remainder. Another way might be 4 and 1/6. Because remember, you take the remainder and you take this number and you make it into a fraction. That's another way to express it. If you're expressing it in a fraction. This is how you learned it early on. This is how we've done it already. Now we're going to learn a new way to do it with decimals. So let us look. As we've seen before, when we divide two numbers, we don't always end up with a whole number. Just like what I just showed you, we have a remainder. Let's say you spent $46 for a package containing 5 DVDs. If you wanted to find out how much each DVD cost, you would divide 46 by 5. And so they've done that right there on your page. All right, they have a remainder of 1. All right, in the past, you would have written that as R1 or 1/5, just like I showed you. However, sometimes it's more helpful to represent these remainders using decimals. Because our place value system is based on 10, we can use the same rules for dividing the remainder as we do for the whole numbers. We simply add a decimal point to show we're now dealing with tenths. So add a 0 to the dividend and keep dividing. All right, so if we buy a package of 5 for $46, then each DVD costs $9.20. Now, note after they added a 0 to the 9.2, and it made it $9.20. Remember, you add a 0 to the right of the decimal point, it doesn't change anything. 2/10 is equivalent to 20/100. It's common to add a 0 when you're working with dollars, though. We generally have 2 spaces to the right of the decimal anyway. You know that that 9.20 means $9.20. All right, so let's say let's do let's do another one. Let's do an example. We're going to take let's see, 43, and we're going to divide by, what are we going to divide by? Let's divide by 5. Okay, 43 divided by 5. Okay, we're going to write our remainder using decimals. Okay, now it's really easy when you do money because everybody knows you have two places after the decimal. But this is not money. This is just 43 divided by 5. 5 goes into this, be 8 times, minus 40. Okay, now, this is what we do when we're going to do our remainder as a decimal. Let's subtract. Okay, now remember, we would usually say 8 remainder 3 or 8 remainder 3/5, but now we're using decimals. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a decimal here, and a 0. Okay, we're going to bring this down. Now we have 30. 5 into 30 would be 6. So writing it as a decimal will give us this. Okay, you're just going to add a decimal, bring down a 0, and keep going on from there. Now sometimes it's going to keep going. It's not always going to give you a 0 remainder. Sometimes it's going to keep going and you'll have to keep putting numbers up here. But we'll get to that in a little bit. All right, so let us get back to our lesson. All right, so now let's look down at the very, very bottom of 164, which is rounding. let's say we spent $1,189 to make 42 quilt racks and want to find the price per quilt rack. How much did we spend per rack? Well, on the top of page 165, there's your long division problem to figure that out. They took the $11.89 and divided it by 42. Okay, so they worked in the division. Okay, and so then they got to where they had a remainder, but they want to write it with a decimal. So they added a decimal to the 9 and started adding zeros and just bringing it down. All right, now let's keep reading. Okay, we've divided a lot of digits. We still have a remainder. You see that remainder down there? Often, when dividing numbers, the answer just keeps going on, not expressing evenly as a fraction of 10 or 100 or 1,000 for a long time, if ever at all. The good news is that we don't typically need that exact of an answer. For most purposes, we can round our answers after a certain number of decimals. In this case, we'll round to the nearest cent. 28.309 rounds to 28.31. So we spent 28.31 per rack. Now remember, when rounding, you look at the digit to the right of the digit that you're rounding. If it's 5 or higher, you round that number up. If it's less than 5, then you keep it the same and everything turns to zeros after that. So let's look at this in your book. Okay, it says 1.25. It rounds to 1 if you are rounding. If you're rounding to the nearest whole number, then you look at the whole number. Then you look at the number to the right of it. This is less than 5, so it makes this stay the same. Everything else changes to zeros. But of course, this is actually just 1. You don't have to write these because it's all zeros. Okay. Now, if you were rounding this number to the nearest tenths place, then you look at the number in the tenths, which is the 2. Look at the number to the right of it. It's a 5. So that makes the 2 then become a 3. And then everything else changes to zeros after that. Everything on this side of what you're rounding stays the same. Everything on that side of where you're rounding changes to zeros. Okay, that's just kind of a review in rounding. Okay, if you have trouble with that, let me know. And we'll practice on that because that's something we really need to know. All right, look at the gray box. Unless otherwise specified in this course, you can round all answers to 2 decimal places to the nearest hundredths. Since we only go to hundredths in money, rounding to the hundredths makes sense whenever dealing with money. Note that in order to round to the hundredths place, you'll need to keep dividing through the thousandths place. That way you'll be able to look at the thousandths place digit to determine if you need to round up or down. Now we have to round to simplify problems. Our need to round is another reminder that we can't keep track of everything. Unlike God, we are limited. We are not omniscient and omnipresent and omnipotent. All right, now we're underneath where it says finding an approximate answer. If you're lost or confused, that's okay, because I'm going to help you with a few of these in a minute. I just want to get through the lesson. So in real life, if all we're looking for is an approximate answer, we'll frequently round to the nearest whole number. For example, if you were buying items at the store, you might want to know about how much you were committed to spending, but you might not need to know, on the next page, the exact amount. So approximating your answer will typically be enough to let you know if you have enough cash for your purchase. For instance, if you were going to buy an item that was $5.99, one that was $7.99, and one that was $1.98, you see those little squiggly, I'm at the top of page 166. You see those little squiggly marks that looks like an equal sign? Okay, that means is approximate to. Okay? All right, so $5.99, $7.99, $1.98 is approximate to 6 plus 8 plus 2, which would be approximately $16. Now, you need to use your judgment when rounding. For instance, if you're asked to find how many shirts a certain yardage of fabric can make and the answer comes back at 4.75 shirts, you can't round and assume the fabric will yield 5 shirts, even though 4.75 rounds to 5. If you don't have enough fabric to finish the 5th shirt, you'll only be able to make 4 shirts. So always make sure that your answer makes sense when you're working with a word problem. Because like I said, if you were working with fabric or, even ingredients, and it says it only makes this amount, and you come out with some answer with decimals, you can't round up because you can't make ingredients or fabric make more than it actually can make, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's look at the keeping perspective where it says 60,000 blood vessels. In this lesson, we use the decimal notation to help us record the answers to division, including divisions that have remainders. As we learn these skills, keep in mind that the skills we learn can help us in real life, including in exploring and better appreciating God's creation. In the corresponding worksheet in your student workbook, you're going to use division and decimals to explore the blood vessels in your body. Have fun using math to get a fresh glimpse of how we truly are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that comes from Psalm 139. All right, let's look right quick at worksheet 7.4. Now I'm just going to help you with a few of these. All right, at the top of the worksheet, now this is front and back. It says from now on at the very top, round all decimal answers to the nearest hundredth. That means anytime you're working with decimals from now on, you'll have 2 decimal places. You'll have to divide 3 times because you'll have to use that third one to round to the second one, unless they specify otherwise. And you can use your calculator on some of these. Now, all right, so on number 1, A, B, and C, it wants you to round these to the nearest hundredth. Now I'm going to help you on C because it's a big number. So C is 7,892, and oh dear, I'm gonna have to count these. 2, 1, 3, 8, pardon me, 5, 9, and 7. Oh wow. Okay, so that would be 1,000, 10,000. Million. Okay, this is 2,138,597 millionths, because it goes all the way. This is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Hang on, I might be wrong. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000, 100,000, million. Okay, sorry. 2,138,597 10 millionths because it goes to the 10 millionths place. Okay, anyway, so it wants us to round. Let me change my color here. It's kind of easier to see. It wants us to round this to the nearest hundredth. So find the place in the hundredths. This is tenths. This is the hundredths place right here. Okay, so this is our highlighted place. We're rounding to this place. That means we look at the number to the right of it. It is a 3. Being less than 5, it will make this number stay the same. It does not change. Everything on this side stays the same. Everything on this side changes to zeros. So your new answer, your rounded answer then would be 7,892 and 21 hundredths. Now, you can add all these zeros down here if you want to, but remember that doesn't change the value. You can just leave those off. Okay, that's what it is. This number makes this stay the same. Everything else changes to zeros. Does that make sense? So this will be your answer on 1C. Okay, all right, let's look and see if I need help on anything else. On number 2, A, B, and C, it wants you to divide the numbers and express the remainders as decimals, round to the nearest hundredth. So let me help you with B. All right, this is how we're going to do it. 89 divided by 7. Now, since it says do it to the nearest hundredth, that means we have to, we'll have a decimal here. You might as well just put one there now. We're going to have to go 3 spaces because this is tenths, hundredths, and this is where we're rounding to, but you have to use this number to round to it. So that means we have to go 3. All right, 7 goes into 8 one time. That would be minus 7. That would be 19. 7 goes into 19 two times. Minus 14 gives us a 5. Now, remember, we added the decimals and all that. It doesn't really change anything. You can just act like they're not even there. Once you add them, just add some zeros, okay? Now we have 7 into 50. That's going to be 7 times. I got to write small, okay, 1. Then we're going to add another 0 because we have another place to fill. Remember, we have to fill 3 places in order to round to this one. Now 7 goes into 10 one time. Minus 7 gives us 3. We're going to add another 0. Bring it down. 7 into 30 would be 4 times. Minus 28 gives us a remainder of 2. Okay, but that's all we have to do because we have to, this is the spot we have to round to. So this would be our answer. Okay, we're going to round. Our answer, the 4 makes the 1 stay the same. So our answer would be 12 and 71 hundredths. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. If you don't understand or you need some more help, just let me know, okay, because I want to help you on this. This is really something you'll need to know. All right, so let me know if you need help. All right, on part 3, it's just a fraction review. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the back. These are all just word problems and such. I am not going to give you a grade on this page, but what I might do is I might give you bonus on the back. Like on, well, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. If you get them wrong, I'm not going to count them off, but I think I'll give you bonus on those. So let me write that down here so that I won't forget. Let's see, no grade, but bonus on 7.4. Okay, I'll put that in the grade book to show that I'm going to give bonus on that, okay? If you needed any help, let me know.